everyone, welcome back to my channel. I thought I would do a quick check-in and tell you what I've been reading, what I've been learning, what I've been up to these days because it's been a while. I've made a few videos that are a bit more kind of general topics or, lists of things. Also, I've been buying a lot of weird tales, and just this past weekend, there's been a pulp fest kind of thing where there's a big pulp magazine sale. And I think after I make my next video on my newly collected weird tales, I think I'm gonna enter an official kind of book buying ban. We'll see how that goes. I've said this a few times before and it didn't really come true. I don't really like restrictions, it's what it is. But I've also been reading, and I've been reading a lot of short stories, and a lot of them would count as weird tales, though they're not directly from Weird Tales magazines. Some of them are just gothic short stories. And somebody asked me recently, hey, how's your dinosaur learning going? Because I've set myself up for a challenge of reading more about dinosaurs. But as I've said multiple times on this channel, when I start a challenge, I usually start it and then it goes on indefinitely. So that means that I could have one video about it this year or in the next 2 years, or it could go on forever. It's something I might dip in and out of. I did DNF one book called Dinosaurs at the Dinner Party, and it was supposed to be about the Victorian period where dinosaurs were kind of new on the scene, and it was supposed to be about Mary Anning. And I don't know what it was, but the first few chapters just didn't grab me, but it was nonfiction, so maybe I should give it a bit more grace or a bit more space. But for the time being, I did DNF it. And then I got this incredible dinosaur set from a bookstore where I got to build my very own Diplodocus. This didn't take too much time. I did it at work during my lunch break, and it was actually kind of fun because I got to appreciate what it takes to find random bones and put them all together for displays in museums. Obviously, when we see the dinosaurs, usually they are sort of reconstructed with gaps filled in, kind of telling us what they would have looked like completed, not necessarily having all the authentic original bones. I don't know how accurate this model is, so maybe if there's a paleontologist in my comment section, please let me know if this wooden reconstruction of a Diplodocus skeleton is accurate, because I wouldn't know. But I know I had a lot of fun trying to figure out where to put it in my office and building it, so I'm really glad I got to do that. And I've carried on with taking my course on paleobiology, but they're just modules on Coursera or edX. I don't even know which platform. I take a lot of random courses. I'll link it down below if you're interested. It is free. I'm not sure how to talk about nonfiction courses or things like that without just repeating what the course says in every module. And I've also started my Egyptomania project, and there might be another one coming very soon on vampires, because I've collected a lot of vampire books over the years, and many of them I haven't read yet, so I'd like to focus more on that too. So that's something else that might be coming soon. I also had a very interesting event at work last week where author Robert McFarlane came. He's a nature writer of Underland and several other nature books, which I've listened to on audio. At least 2 of them I think I've listened to. I'll put them on the screen. He's just released a new book called Is a River Alive? And he came to my work. We had this big event where my boss was in conversation with him, and they talked about climate and literature and the environment and people. And there was like a big breakfast served, and a lot of people came. It was such an incredible event. As a staff member, I got a free copy of the book, and it's signed, so that was pretty cool. It was worth going to work at 7 a.m. that day. It was kind of a breakfast event, so yeah, it was very cool to see him live and to hear him speak. He's such a wonderful speaker. I wish it was longer, and I guess being on staff, I had to be a bit more active in helping things. But yeah, I will definitely be looking out for more lectures online by Robert McFarlane, because he's such a great speaker, and I definitely want to read this because, well, that's why I took it, because I want to read it. So now let me tell you about the few books that I have been reading. So I am buddy reading Spores of Doom. This is from the British Library Tales of the Weird collection. Spores of Doom kind of presented itself as tales or dank tales of the fungal weird. I am buddy reading this with Roy from the channel Roy Reads Anything, and we're going through this randomly and slowly. We're not necessarily reading them in order, though I seem to have done so. I just know Roy sometimes checks in with stories from the later parts of the book. I've agreed with Roy on something so far, is that some of these stories don't necessarily feature the fungal as you'd expect it. So for example, the yellow wallpaper is in here, and the Fall of the House of Usher. Both of them are incredible stories. I love them. But I didn't feel like they had that sort of mushroomy fungal presence. I can see how in the yellow wallpaper you have the degradation of the mind, potentially something on the wallpaper itself, and maybe some scenes in the crypt for the House of Usher, but they're very subtle, and I kind of wanted it to be more up front and center. So here are some of the things I've read. I've read Mushrooms by Sylvia Plath, very short poem. I always encourage people to listen to the audio of Sylvia Plath reading it herself. It's chilling. But with mushrooms, it's actually just kind of cute. It's almost like a situation of observing mushrooms. Then my favorite story so far, The Voice in the Night by William Hope Hodgson. This is about a ship where this voice comes through, and you don't know if it's the voice of a sunken ship or ghosts and people on that ship. And the voice tells the characters things it has seen and heard, or things to do. And it's also kind of, the derelict that they find is enveloped by fungus and this otherworldly sort of moss. It's so wet and nautical horror. I love it. One of my favorite stories of all times. And then The Fall of the House of Usher is about this man visiting one of his friends from his youth, and something is odd in the house, and things are very mysterious, creepy, dark. There's a lot of strange things happening, and the family is not well. And the yellow wallpaper is read by many as a story depicting the mental state of women when they were reduced and forced to be in the house only, without having the ability to have like societal mobility or freedom of any kind, and losing one's mind in the confines of your own home, and kind of feeling the walls closing in around you. And this is of course depicted in the yellow wallpaper, kind of peeling off the walls, and her husband's always gaslighting her. It's such a strange and dark story. The only thing is, I've read this story so many times. I've had to read it for a few feminist courses I took in undergrad, and it's been anthologized in so many books, especially the Weird Tales ones. I think it's a crowd favorite, and for good reason. It's a very good short story. I, again, just didn't feel like it fit the fungal theme very well. And then the last story that I read was The Shunned House by H.P. Lovecraft. He's depicting this house, and I think in this short story I really got to appreciate Lovecraft's adjectives. One of my favorite words that he uses is festooned. And then I just grabbed that whole paragraph and I put it in a slide, because I wanted to kind of point out some of his adjectives, and they're just so bizarre, like eldritch and festooned and all of these very like specific adjectives that only Lovecraft uses in a very Lovecraftian way. Anyway, we will carry on, and Roy and I are talking over Discord on it. Do let me know, are you guys on Discord? Like, should I have my own Discord? I am on Discord myself, but I join in on other people's Discords. But if other people in this community are interested in me having my own Discord, I could open one and just have, you know, like different topics, and you can all interact there too. Let me know. I'm not really sure if I'm ready for another social media platform. I feel like there's so many already. Like every time there's like Patreon and Substack and Snapchat and all of, like every day there's a new one that opens up. So I just feel like overwhelmed by all of it. But I do find myself active on Discord. So yeah. Then I picked up Pirate Ghosts. And this is a collection of short stories that include a lot of pirates and ghostly or spectral figures of pirates. So far, I've read No Ships Pass by Lady Eleanor Smith, which is a great story. It was also anthologized in the Depths book of the British Tales of the Weird. I remember it, but I just love it. It's such a good story. It was worth the reread. Basically, this guy ends up washed ashore on this island, and he meets this pirate, basically. And he's of another era, and you can tell based on the way he talks. And this newcomer is kind of like, okay, let's put an SOS, let's get off. And he's like, oh, you're not getting off this island. And then he meets more characters, and you start to get the sense that this is like a sort of purgatory island of washed up pirates from different eras. And one of them is even from the Titanic. So you get this bizarre crowd of people from different eras who have all been marooned on this island. Then there's a very short H.P. Lovecraft story called The Terrible Old Man. And this is just like a mood and a scene of coming across this kind of old captain in a pub. It's very atmospheric. And then I've read 7 Turns in a Hangman's Rope. And this is by Henry S. Whitehead. And this starts off with observing a painting of a captured pirate being decapitated and describing the painting in detail. And then you kind of like zoom in and start being in the backstory of how we got to this stage in the painting and what happened leading up to this decapitation. And then I started reading Washington Irving's Guest from Gibbet Island. I didn't finish it because I got distracted. And then I just decided to pick up the sketchbooks of Jeffrey Crayon by Washington Irving, where you have this like story within a story within a story. There's like 3 different introductions here where we have Jeffrey Crayon hearing stories from Knickerbocker, who heard stories from other people collected in here as a sort of travelogue across America. And this is where you have the sort of very American fairy tale of Rip Van Winkle, who takes a colossal nap, wakes up many years later, and the political situation has shifted. It is a highly political fairy tale, but it's just so iconic, and I've seen many illustrations of it that I've loved. And Sleepy Hollow is in here, and it's a very short story. So I wanted to dip in and out of a few of these because I thought, oh, you know, I should revisit Washington Irving, but I don't know if I want to read the whole thing. So I've just been dipping in and out of some stories, see how I like it. But I'm definitely gonna finish all of this because who doesn't love pirate ghosts? Yeah, so that's what I've been reading. I think I'm gonna pick up a full novel next, or maybe I'll dip into some weird tales. We'll see. Please let me know down below what you've been reading, and I hope to see you soon in a future video. Bye!